General. Herm Edwards was on Afternoon Drive yesterday. Really good football coach. I think this is a bad idea.
At the end of the day, I think you got to start the rookie. I just do. You drafted two of them because you drafted four. I mean, you drafted two rookie quarterbacks. You can't say, well, hey, man, I'm going to put you on the shelf. What are you putting them unless you're going to trade one of them? To me, it's like, okay, we drafted two of them. Then somebody got to play. You were 3-14. So you got to make a decision. If you start a rookie quarterback, the fans are going to say, we're okay with that. We can live with that. Midway through the season, is he a better player? Is the team better because he's the quarterback? That's going to be the critical part. You drafted two rookie quarterbacks. Not one, you drafted two of them.
Would Herm Edwards still say that if his name was on a door? Would Herm Edwards think that if his name was if he still had an office at an NFL facility, would Herm Edwards ever think something like that? A lot of respect for Herm Edwards, like Herm Edwards, and I see Owen shaking his head. Herm Edwards ain't saying none of that if he is still in charge of a football team. There ain't no way in hell.
Like, you mean if he's trying to just save his job this year?
Not even that. But doing what's responsible for 52 other guys. Doing the responsible thing. Like, am I nuts? Am I the one who's not living in reality, or is it everybody else when it comes to this sort of thing? There's got to be people in Cleveland who see this as real. Like, these are real things. This isn't a video game. This isn't a fantasy team. There's real outcomes and real people that are affected here. And you have to be able to split the two. I have to be able to split what's real and what's not between this football team and what's to come and what could be. Why are we talking about starting rookies here week one? We drafted rookies. You drafted them in the 3rd and 5th round. So clearly there's deficiencies there. I'm going to start the season with these guys, with one of these guys. Eventually, we all know how this goes. Eventually, a rookie is going to play. But just hear such an attitude from an NFL head coach. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry at all. That's irresponsible.
Well, I guess
I'm
just
really
confused.
surprised to hear
the
that from a former NFL head coach.
Enough now. It's 17 games in 18 weeks. Like, I don't see the rush to have to start somebody by week one. Like, I leave the door open. Like, yeah, if a guy just dazzles, if a guy looks like Jaden Daniels, like, okay, then you're not going to deny what could be potential greatness.
I'll meet you halfway.
I hear from
There's
Ken.
There's a big difference between 94 and 144.
Well, wait.
Well, wait here from me.
Well, under Ken's thought process this whole time is you got to stop looking at Shedeur as a 5th-round pick.
Well, because
you got to look at him as a player that we had once talked about as a 2nd overall pick.
Well, if I'm going to give him a chance at all, I think I got to do that, especially if it's an open mind. But I do think we have to be under the term of rookie versus veterans. And guys who are super veterans like Joe Flacco, who's actually played for this football team before. He's the only one who's actually been with this group of guys in the past. Yes, Owen, I'm sorry.
Should the coach be playing schedule game? Because the first 6 weeks does not look like a rookie-friendly schedule.
It does not.
Especially
right
at
now.
94 and 144.
It is a sticky wicket right there.
Well, unstick it for me.
Do I want to play the schedule game with how to start?
No,
because
you don't need to actually play the schedule game. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think I kind of was with Herm, but you're right. If he was the coach of the football team who was coming off a 3-14 season, I mean, he coached my team for a little bit, and he would not have done that.
It would go
at that time.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Unless they took the guy number 2 overall. If he was number 2 overall, we would have talked differently.
I feel like so much like some of the times I'm talking to a brick wall, I'm going, guys, you've watched football forever. You're fans. You've watched it forever. You know damn well there's a difference between doing what's right by the rest of your team and just wanting to be entertained. Because I don't think anybody think that there's a real future with Kenny Pickett other than maybe Kevin Stefanski and some guys around him. All right? So that might be where Ken, you got to deal with the reality here where there's football guys who know way more about football than you who think that Kenny Pickett could be something. Fine. Okay. I'll meet you halfway on that one. Joe Flacco's Joe Flacco. He's 40 years old. This may be his last year, more than likely. Okay. But when it comes to the rookies, it feels like I'm going to spike them and spike the season. I got to go with the guys who have the best chance to earn the respect of the players from the very get-go. And rookies aren't necessarily going to be able to do so. It's not a young football team. This isn't a complete reset. You have veterans in that organization right now. So I got to deal with the reality of it. And the reality of it is that while we all just want to be entertained and have something to talk about, and that's where I think 95% of this comes around, I got to say something about the Browns. It's much more fun to talk about Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel than it is to talk about Kenny Pickett. And Joe Flacco was a nice story, but I think everybody's looking at Joe Flacco like his career's over after this. It's much more fun to talk about them. But, man, I got to really actually try to beat football teams and guys who give me the best chance, because I just can't lose a locker room before the season even starts.
Well, you wouldn't lose a locker room if a player was put on a show every day and it was undeniable. Like, didn't we have sound from who was it, Newsom, talking about Shedeur has already shown that he's a leader and he's taken over that locker room. Like, that's the kind of stuff that if you hear more and more and more of that, then you have to be open to it. And then you got to throw out where a guy was drafted.
I would absolutely. I'm not going to be so close-minded, but, man, it's very, very hard to believe that if I do have 4 quarterbacks there, how many opportunities are going to get to really show me here, to really show me anything? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to play that Greg Newsom if you want.
Right on ahead, please.
He's been amazing. A sponge, I would say. It's just crazy that a guy this young with this much notoriety can just handle media and things like that. I think his dad has really taught him how, to be that guy in the spotlight and understand that what comes with it. And I think he's been doing an incredible job of just learning and getting better each day.
That's from NFL Network, Good Morning Football. But if
that's great.
If
that's
those
what you want out of the guy.
If Myles Garrett, who, he knew the quarterback plan or he didn't, whatever, when he re-signed. But Myles Garrett, Joe Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, who all love, Joe Flacco. If Shedeur came out or if Dylan Gabriel came out in training camp and was just clearly the guy, right? They would all love that guy too. I don't think you get anybody going, I don't know if we should play this rookie. He's a little undersized. If he's killing everyone in training camp, all the veterans on the team are going to get behind him.
That is true. If everybody else wants to win. I don't want to say, if he's that good, guys, I don't want to just sit there and deny him. But do we have faith that he's going to be that good in real time? The guy fell to the 5th round. Did he just call everybody's wives names when he was in these meetings? Is that why he fell to the 5th round?
Wore headphones.
What on earth could he have done? I don't even believe that. Deion said it, but I love Deion, so maybe it is the truth. I accidentally knocked a pen all over the room by that. Now you guys are going to accuse me of throwing pens over this issue. I know what you're going to do in there. I mean, come on, guys. There has to be a happy medium. And to just start the guy because he's a rookie, it's asinine to me. It's asinine. They see him every day in practice. They'll see him every day in camp. That's why I hit my head against the wall. Well, Ken, we got to see him. Well, they're going to see him. They're going to see him in practice. They're going to see him in the facility every day. They're going to see him in the meetings. So if they don't think the most desperate team in the NFL to find a quarterback, if they don't think that he's able to go out there, why do I need to see him? They're the ones who are supposed to be good at evaluating this. Why do I need to see that guy go out there and not be able to protect himself and get himself injured, or possibly his wide receivers injured, or possibly other people injured, and lose football games and kill the morale of the fan base and kill the morale of the organization and kill the morale of everybody connected to this thing? Why do I need to see it? Just because we're curious? We got to operate in reality here for a moment. You'll get your Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. I promise you will. They're both, I think Dylan Gabriel is an adult, quote unquote. And he will be fine halfway to later on through the year. And the same thing is with Shedeur Sanders. We will get those guys. Starting them week 1, killing your season, having the better chance to kill your season than to really start it well before it even starts, it is just irresponsible in every way I can say it. Tony in Mansfield, hello.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Hi, Tony.
Hey, yeah, so, Ken, I agree with you as far as, the team is going to see what Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders is throughout the practices, training camps, all of those things, this mini camp. But if they're not ready to start week 1 because of those things, then obviously that tells me that we have to draft a quarterback next year. Is that not right? Because, if they can't beat out a Joe Flacco and a Kenny Pickett, then it is what it is. It's not us saying we have to see what they have. That's for the fans, right? the coaching staff and who's evaluating these quarterbacks, they're going to see what they have in practices.
Tony,
you know,
exactly. All we want to do when we say we got to see what we say, we got to see these guys. When we say that, we just want to have our arguments and decide whether or not we were right or wrong, and whether or not our buddies were right or wrong. And mostly, we just want to prove our buddies wrong in these things.
Exactly, and that's what it's going to tell us. If they're not going to be starting, if these two rookie quarterbacks are not going to be starting quarterbacks, then that tells me right now they are not ready. And they will be backups. Now, maybe something magical will happen eventually, which is a very, very small percentage where something clicked and they develop. But if you can't beat out a Kenny Pickett and a Joe Flacco, next year we're going to take our 2 first-round picks and whatever picks we can get, and we're going to throw it at the best quarterback we can in next year's draft.
And that's perfectly fine. Tony, thank you very much for the call. You know, Tone, you said it last year, and by the way, I was on the other side of this last year. When it came to DTR, I threw up my hands. I go, yeah, fine. Let's go see what we have in DTR. And you said, haven't we already seen enough in DTR? What do we really need to see in DTR? What do we need to see of him? What do we need to see? Yeah, we've had plenty of guys. We need to see him. For what? So we can argue with each other about the guy? So I can prove to some guy I thought I zinged on social media that DTR was good or bad in our arguments? Why? They're the ones who actually have an outcome in this, skin in the game. How many guys who we have said in the history of Browns football since 1999, we got to get a look at them, and then we found out really quickly, yeah, we've seen enough by the end of the first quarter. All of them? Most of them? All but 2? 3 out of 40? 3 guys in this scenario? Johnny Manziel, we got an eyeful day 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Baker was worth it. Baker's one of those guys. He is more of a 10th to 15th to 16th best quarterback in the league, but he was one of those guys. Absolutely true. He's also the number 1 pick. He also had a lot of those intangibles that you would make as a franchise quarterback. When you're waiting that long to take those guys, hey, there's going to be different outcomes here. I remember this conversation, and I should have remembered it even last year when you and I were talking about DTR, but I fell under the spell of, well, you know what? It's November, and I got to talk about something with the Cleveland Browns because this really sucks. So I even fell under that spell. But we did this years ago with Deshaun Kaiser. And I was the biggest bastard in the city going, you can't just start this guy. Well, Ken, he's supposed to be the best quarterback we have. Well, yeah, he's not the most ready. And then they went out and, well, we got to see what we have in Deshaun Kaiser before we go on to another quarterback. Yeah, we got an eye full of Deshaun Kaiser. And he wasn't ready to defend himself, and he wasn't ready to lead an offense or a football team. And you spiked that career before you even had a chance. I got to learn from previous mistakes with other previous regimes here. Doesn't just happen. That's incredibly crazy. It's just irresponsible. And my answer to it was, would you say the same thing if your name was still on a door in an NFL office? You wouldn't.
How many coaches are running their 3rd or 5th round pick at quarterback out there under center?
I give credit to Herm Edwards because he can go from a football coach, and he was a successful NFL football coach. Let's not call it what it is, all right? And he was probably forced to do some things at Arizona State to try to win that he probably didn't want to do, but that's a different conversation. I do have a lot of respect for Herm Edwards when I say this. That's why I'm so surprised he would say such a thing like that. He can split the difference between being a media member and a football coach, but you can't just say you're going to play the rookie. You can't do that. As a former NFL coach, you know what's going on. See, you're nodding your head. But then you brought up like, well, you can't just be so rigid. You can't do that. But I'm just trying to meet everybody halfway, or as halfway as I'm willing to meet people on this with while trying to be responsible to the football team and to the rookies. Just because they're rookies and we're in a bad spot, like I can also try to convince, can I, Tone, that for Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, like, son, you're not ready yet. We need to give you time to help us, and we need to give you time to help yourself. So I know you look good now, but I'm going to tell you right now, it ain't going to go this way against the Bengals, against the Steelers, and God knows what.
Sure. Would you admit, though, that so far, and I know this is tough, they're wearing T-shirts and no pads and no pass rush, no defense to speak of, really, but of the reporting that we have heard so far, does it sound to you like Shedeur is dazzling? Does it sound to you like he has been a locker room leader already, as much as you can be, right? As
much as you can be as a rookie.
So let's play that out. If it actually looks like that come training camp, and my God, when you go, are they going up against Philadelphia again?
Yes.
For the joint practice?
Panthers, yes.
Okay. I mean, if he's looking that good, and he has the command of the room and the respect of his teammates and the veterans and Myles Garrett, unsolicited, because Myles will tell you, right? Myles will just go out of his way to tell you if this dude is that good. And then he'll say, oh, yeah, that's why I stayed. That's why I stayed. I knew we were going to get a guy like this.
Kevin did say
Does that change your mind?
Kevin did say he talks with the veterans, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the opinion. I want Joel Bitonio's opinion. That's whose opinion I want.
Oh, yeah.
Myles is a defensive player. Greg's a defensive player. No disrespect to them, but I want Joel Bitonio's opinion on this. I want Jerry Jeudy's opinion on this. That I will seek. It's their opinion that I care about. Pundits, Kenny Carmen's out there. If I were to decide to flip-flop and do real flip-flopper and say he's got to start week 1, we got to see what he's saying. I don't care about that. What's the answer to his teammates? Do they have, don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what I need to hear. Do you have trust in this young man? Tell me, Joel. Tell me, Jerry. Tell me. Ethan Posick, Wyatt Teller. Do you guys believe that this guy has what it takes to go ahead and lead you out there? If you truly 100% do, and you do over Joe, not based on, well, eventually. No. Do you as much as you would Joe? Do you as much you would do Kenny? Yeah, okay. I'm an outsider. I'll be terrified. It ain't my football team. But the whole, well, we need to see him, said by guys like us, it's fodder because we just want to see someone we want to talk about.
And our jobs aren't on the line.
Exactly. But when it comes to a football coach, like a former football coach, flatly should know better.